I've worked in the wealth management and financial advice space for over 5 years now, and I disagree with Fidelity, at least on this certain article they put out. They put out an article, maybe you've seen it, but it's kind of this breakdown of how much money you actually need to be able to retire. And it was significantly less than a lot of people thought. It was obviously based on, how much money you're going to spend in retirement versus how much you make versus your money and investments, your debts paid off. It was like a algorithm. But a lot of people have this problem where it's called the gambler's paradox, where humans innately are kind of more optimistic in the long run than pessimistic. It's just kind of wishful thinking. And people oftentimes underestimate their expenses in retirement. They think that, well, I only go out to eat twice a month, and I want to go on vacation maybe twice a year, and they start doing these mental gymnastics where they're like, I'm only going to spend $3,000 a month. That'll get by, and then, well, my investments are already making this much passively. I only need this much money. There are always going to be hidden expenses in retirement. All right, people forget their hip that has been bad for a couple of years and is getting worse and is going to need to be replaced. People forget they've been drinking most of their life and their liver is just getting worse and worse. People forget they've been lifelong smokers and the likelihood that they're going to potentially have lung cancer is climbing every single year. People are they're just quick to forget things that are convenient to forget when they want to retire and they're trying to convince themselves that they need only a little bit more money to retire. I always try to encourage my clients and people that are getting towards retirement that it's never going to put you in a panic to have a little bit too much, all right, to overshoot it. But if you undershoot it and you have to try to potentially get back in the labor force or sell off all your goods or go into debt, God forbid, these are the things that you really will stress and suffer for. And I think that this article is going to have a lot of people convincing themselves that, yeah, they are getting close to be ready to retire because all they need is this tiny little bit of expenses every single month. And in reality, it's just not realistic. Also, people within your sphere, your loved ones go through crisis. And a lot of times they're going to lean on you, unfortunately, as the retiree. Your kids might lean on you. You might have a kid that goes through an addiction problem, or a kid that has a marriage go south and end up having to declare bankruptcy, a kid that ends up trying to, drop out of college to go all in on some stupid business that goes belly up. And these are situations where you're going to want to have a little bit of extra money to help out. Um, I don't think that it's wise to be wishful thinking when it comes to something as serious as when to retire. I try to get my clients to get a number in their head and then we multiply by 1.15 just to get that extra 15% padding. Just in case the stock market could really turn south if they have any money in stocks, or maybe they could have expenses that come up that are unforeseen, or all these things. But ideally, they'd have a very conservative portfolio, and ideally, we would just multiply that by 1.15 and have a little bit extra. Worst case scenario, you leave a little bit extra to your loved ones. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's actually kind of something that I do encourage my retirees to truly think about because this new generation is facing a housing market and healthcare costs and just basic groceries and things like that that are really expensive. It's difficult now to have a family, and leaving a little bit of money for your kids is actually something that is not necessarily giving them a leg up, but is just evening the playing field because young people are really struggling to start families and own houses today. So don't get your hopes up and think that you're going to get by on $2,000 a month in retirement. It's not realistic. Get a certain amount of money, multiply it by 1.15. Honestly, just work with an advisor or someone that has done this. At least get a second opinion. If you're interested in working with me, you can read every single word in the description of this video below. If you'd rather work with someone in your area, geographically close to you, that's your prerogative. Go do what you think is best. But I highly recommend you don't just shoot from the hip on this, because when to retire is a very significant decision. And you don't want to be the person who retires too early and then scrambles and panics and has to get very kind of, you know, I guess just crash out right before retirement and get very panicky in front of everybody. Uh, so don't do that and get some help. Read every single word in the description below, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.